The glass doors of Samsung Medical Center's VIP wing burst open as paramedics rushed through, their gurney carrying the unconscious body of Kim Jae-won, South Korea's third richest man. His assistant ran alongside, phone pressed to her ear, her voice shaking as she relayed updates to the company's board of directors. Photographers who'd been camping outside for an entirely different story suddenly had breaking news. Camera flashes exploded like lightning as the 62-year-old CEO of Daehan Electronics was wheeled past, his face pale, his breathing assisted by an oxygen mask. "Mr. Kim has collapsed," the assistant shouted into her phone. "Massive heart attack. They're prepping emergency surgery now." Within minutes, the news spread across Seoul like wildfire. Stock prices for Daehan Electronics plummeted. Emergency board meetings were called. And two women, in two very different parts of the city, received phone calls that would change everything. The first call went to Park Min-ji, sitting in her penthouse apartment in Gangnam, the wealthiest district in Seoul. She was 58 years old, elegant in the way that came from decades of careful grooming and expensive maintenance. Her son, Kim Tae-hyun, sat across from her in the living room, scrolling through his phone. At 35, Tae-hyun had his father's sharp features and his mother's calculating eyes. He'd been groomed since birth to take over the empire. Min-ji's hand trembled as she ended the call. "Your father's in the hospital. Heart attack." Tae-hyun looked up, his expression shifting from surprise to something else, something harder to read. "Is he going to make it?" "They don't know yet." Min-ji stood, smoothing her designer dress. "We need to get there. Now." The second call went to Lee Sun-hee, who was working the evening shift at a convenience store in Nowon, one of Seoul's middle-class neighborhoods. She was 55, her face showing the wear of a woman who'd worked two jobs for most of her adult life. When her phone rang with an unknown number, she almost didn't answer. "Is this Lee Sun-hee?" a male voice asked. "Yes, who is this?" "I'm calling from Samsung Medical Center. Kim Jae-won has been admitted with a critical condition. He listed you as an emergency contact years ago, and our system flagged it. I thought you should know." Sun-hee's legs went weak. She gripped the counter. Is he alive?" "He's in surgery. That's all I can tell you." Her coworker noticed her face had gone white. "Are you okay?" Sun-hee grabbed her jacket. "I have to go. It's an emergency." Her son, Kim Min-ho, was at home in their small two-bedroom apartment, studying for his civil service exam. At 33, he was everything his mother had raised him to be: honest, hardworking, dedicated. He had no idea his father was one of the richest men in Korea. He'd been told his entire life that his father had died before he was born. When Sun-hee burst through the door, breathless from running, Min-ho looked up in alarm. "Mom, what's wrong?" "I need to tell you something." She sat down, tears streaming down her face. "I need to tell you the truth about your father." At the hospital, chaos reigned. The surgery took 4 hours. Min-ji arrived with Tae-hyun, sweeping through the VIP waiting room like she owned it. She'd been Kim Jae-won's companion for 37 years, though they'd never married. In Korea's business world, that hardly mattered. Everyone knew she was the woman behind the throne, and Tae-hyun was the crown prince. The Daehan Electronics board members began arriving, filling the waiting room with expensive suits and worried whispers. The company was worth $40 billion. Kim Jae-won owned 60% of the shares personally. His succession plan had always been clear: everything would go to his eldest son. Except there was a problem no one in that waiting room knew about yet. Dr. Kong emerged from surgery at midnight, his scrubs still spotted with blood. The surgery was successful, but he's critical. The next 72 hours will determine everything. Min-ji nodded, her composure perfect. "Can I see him?" "Immediate family only, and only for a few minutes." She glided toward the ICU, Tae-hyun following. The board members watched them go, already calculating, already planning. If Kim Jae-won died, the transfer of power needed to be seamless. The market couldn't handle uncertainty. What none of them noticed was the woman standing at the far end of the hallway, dressed in a worn coat, her hands clutched together. Sun-hee had been standing there for an hour, too afraid to approach, too worried to leave. A nurse finally noticed her. "Are you family?" Sun-hee hesitated. I knew him. A long time ago. Is he going to survive?" The nurse's expression softened. "We're doing everything we can. If you're hooked already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this story is about to get wild. Drop a comment below about who you think should inherit, the privileged son or the hidden one." Sun-hee didn't go into the ICU that night. She rode the subway home in a daze, her mind spinning back 34 years to when she'd been a young secretary at Daehan Electronics and Kim Jae-won had been a rising executive, brilliant and ambitious and 20 years older than her. Their affair had been brief, passionate, and completely secret. When she discovered she was pregnant, he'd offered her money, a lot of money, to disappear. She'd refused the larger sum, refused to be bought off. But she'd taken enough to ensure her son would never starve, and she'd vanished from Seoul, raising Minho alone in Busan for 15 years before returning to the capital. She'd never told Minho the truth because what good would it do? Kim Jae-won had made his choice. He had another woman, another son, another life. But now, sitting across from Minho in their tiny apartment, watching her son's face transform from confusion to shock to anger, she wondered if she'd made the right choice. "You're telling me my father is Kim Jae-won?" "The Kim Jae-won." Minho's voice rose. "And you never thought to mention this?" "He didn't want you." "What was I supposed to say?" "The truth, Mom. You were supposed to tell me the truth." Minho stood, pacing the small living room. His entire life suddenly felt like a lie. Every scholarship he'd earned, every exam he'd studied for, every night his mother had worked late, all of it viewed through a new lens. His father could have given them everything and instead, they'd struggled. "Does he even know I exist?" Minho asked. Sun-hee nodded slowly. "He knows. I sent him a letter when you were born." He never responded. The silence that followed was heavy with 33 years of absence. At the hospital, Taehyun stood beside his father's bed, looking down at the man who'd built an empire from nothing. Kim Jae-won had started as a factory worker and climbed to the top through brilliance, ruthlessness, and perfect timing. He'd taught Taehyun everything: how to read a balance sheet, how to negotiate, how to destroy a competitor without mercy. "You have to wake up," Taehyun whispered. "The board is already circling. They smell blood in the water." Minji placed a hand on her son's shoulder. "He'll survive. He always does." But even she looked uncertain. Kim Jae-won's face was gray, his breathing mechanical. The heart attack had been severe. Even if he survived, he might never fully recover. The news of Kim Jae-won's collapse dominated the morning headlines. Business analysts debated the future of Daehan Electronics. Reporters camped outside the hospital. And in the corporate world, sharks began to circle. The vice president of Daehan Electronics, a man named Choi Sung-min, called an emergency board meeting for the following morning. "We need to discuss continuity of leadership," he announced. "If Mr. Kim is incapacitated, we need a plan." Everyone in that room knew what he really meant. If Kim Jae-won died or couldn't return to work, someone would need to take control. The obvious choice was Taehyun, but he was young, untested as a solo leader. Some board members had other ideas. What none of them knew was that at that exact moment, in a law office across the city, an attorney named Young Woo-jin was opening a sealed envelope that had been in his safe for 33 years. Young Woo-jin had been Kim Jae-won's personal attorney for 40 years. He'd handled everything from corporate mergers to personal matters that never saw the light of day. The envelope in his hands was marked with specific instructions, to be opened only in the event of my incapacitation or death. Inside was a document that made Young's hands shake. A will. A DNA test result from 33 years ago. And a letter written in Kim Jae-won's own hand. "This changes everything," Young muttered, reaching for his phone. The next morning, Sun-hee returned to the hospital. She'd barely slept, and Minho had left the apartment before dawn without saying where he was going. She felt unmoored, guilty, terrified. She took the elevator to the ICU floor, not knowing what she'd do when she got there, just knowing she needed to be close. She stepped off the elevator and nearly collided with Minji. The two women stared at each other. Sun-hee recognized her immediately from news photos and society pages. Park Min-ji, the queen of Seoul's elite, dressed in black Chanel, her makeup perfect even at 7 in the morning. Min-ji's eyes narrowed. "Can I help you?" "I'm sorry, I was just—" Sun-hee started to back away. "Wait." Min-ji's voice was sharp. "I know your face." "Do I know you?" Sun-hee's heart hammered. "No, I don't think so." But Min-ji stepped closer, studying her. Something clicked in her memory. A photograph she'd found in Jae-won's desk decades ago. A photograph he'd claimed meant nothing. "Lee Sun-hee." The sound of her own name made Sun-hee freeze. "It is you." Min-ji's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You have nerve showing up here. I just wanted to know if he was okay." "He's fine. Or he will be. And you need to leave. Whatever you think you're owed, whatever you think you can get from this situation, you're wrong. He has a family. A real family." Sun-hee felt anger flash through her fear. "I don't want anything from him. I never did." "Then why are you here?" Before Sun-hee could answer, Taehyun emerged from the ICU. He saw his mother confronting a strange woman and immediately stepped between them. "What's going on?" Min-ji's expression smoothed into calm. "Nothing. This woman was just leaving." Sun-hee turned and walked quickly toward the elevator, her face burning. She shouldn't have come. What had she been thinking? But as the elevator doors closed, she heard Taehyun ask his mother, "Who was that?" And Min-ji's response, "No one. No one at all." Across the city, Minho sat in a PC room, one of Seoul's ubiquitous internet cafes, searching for everything he could find about Kim Jae-won. The more he read, the angrier he became. The wealth. The power. The interviews where Kim Jae-won talked about the importance of family and legacy. All while his actual son lived in a 2-bedroom apartment and his mother worked at a convenience store. Minho found articles about Taehyun too. The Golden Son. Harvard-educated. Vice president of Daehan Electronics at 35. Set to inherit everything. "We'll see about that," Minho muttered. He didn't want the money for himself. He wasn't even sure he wanted a relationship with a father who'd abandoned him. But his mother deserved acknowledgement. She deserved respect. And the truth deserved to come out. Kim Jae-won regained consciousness on the 3rd day. His first words were barely a whisper, "My sons." The nurse leaned in. "What was that, Mr. Kim?" "I need to see my sons." "Both of them." The nurse looked confused. "Your son is here. He's been here the whole time." "Both," Kim Jae-won repeated, his voice stronger now. "Both of my sons." When Dr. Kang checked on him an hour later, Kim Jae-won was more alert. "I need my attorney. Young Woo-jin. Call him immediately." "Mr. Kim, you need to rest. Now. It's urgent." Something in his tone made the doctor comply. Within 2 hours, young Woo-jin arrived at the hospital, carrying his briefcase. Min-ji tried to follow him into the ICU, but Young held up a hand. "Mr. Kim requested to see me alone." "I'm his family," Min-ji protested. "And I'm his attorney. This is a legal matter." The door closed in her face. Min-ji stood in the hallway, a cold feeling spreading through her chest. Something was wrong. She could feel it. Inside the ICU, Young pulled a chair close to Kim Jae-won's bed. "You're awake. Good. We have a situation." "I know." Kim Jae-won's voice was weak but clear. "I almost died. It focused my mind. The will I had you draft, is it still valid?" "Yes." "But are you certain? This will destroy your carefully built world." Kim Jae-won closed his eyes. "I've been a coward for 33 years. I'm out of time to keep being one." "Arrange a meeting. I want to see both of my sons. Together." "Min-ji won't allow it." "Min-ji doesn't get a vote. This is my company, my money, my decision." "And Young, make sure the DNA results are ready. Original copies. I want no room for doubt." Young nodded slowly. This was going to detonate like a bomb in Seoul's business community. Don't go anywhere because the drama is about to explode. Smash that like button if you're Team Truth and comment below whether you think the billionaire is doing the right thing or destroying his legacy. The meeting was arranged for 2 days later, once Kim Jae-won was stable enough to be moved to a private suite. Young Woo-jin made the calls himself. The first to Taehyun was straightforward. Your father wants to see you tomorrow at 2. Come alone. The second call was harder. He had to track down Sun Hee through old records, finally reaching her at the convenience store. Ms. Lee, this is Young Woo-jin, attorney for Kim Jae-won. He's requested a meeting with you and your son tomorrow. Sun Hee nearly dropped her phone. What? Why? I can't discuss that over the phone. Can you and your son be at Samsung Medical Center tomorrow at 2? Private suite, 10th floor. I don't know if my son will come. Please try to convince him. Mr. Kim was very insistent. That night, Sun Hee sat Min-ho down. Your father wants to meet you. Min-ho laughed bitterly. Now? After 33 years, now he wants to meet me. He nearly died. Maybe it changed something. Or maybe he wants to pay us off. Make sure we stay quiet now that the media is circling. Will you at least consider it? Min-ho stared at his mother's pleading face. Fine. I'll go. But I'm not promising to be polite. The next day at 1:30, both sons arrived at the hospital. Taehyun came from the corporate headquarters, dressed in a custom suit, confidence radiating from every pore. Min-ho came from the subway, wearing the best clothes he owned, a simple button-down shirt and slacks that suddenly felt shabby in the hospital's expensive surroundings. They didn't see each other at first. Taehyun was ushered into a private waiting room. Min-ho and Sun Hee were directed to another. Both parties waited, tense and confused. At exactly 2, Young Woo-jin emerged from Kim Jae-won's suite. He's ready. I'm going to bring you in one at a time, then together. He went to Taehyun first. Your father wants 5 minutes alone with you before the main meeting. Taehyun frowned. Main meeting? Who else is coming? You'll understand soon. Inside the suite, Kim Jae-won sat propped up in bed, still connected to monitors but looking stronger. When Taehyun entered, he gestured to a chair. Sit down, son. We need to talk. Father, you're scaring me. What's going on? Kim Jae-won looked at the son he'd raised, the son he'd groomed to be his successor, and felt the weight of what he was about to do. I need to tell you something I should have told you years ago. You have a brother. The words hung in the air like smoke. Taehyun blinked. What? A half-brother. He's 33 years old. His name is Kim Min-ho, and his mother is a woman I was involved with before you were born. You're telling me this now? While you're in a hospital bed. I'm telling you now because I almost died, and I realized I've made terrible mistakes. Min-ho exists, Taehyun. He's my son just as much as you are. Taehyun stood up, his face flushing. No, this is insane. Why would you even acknowledge this? Some affair from decades ago, it's not relevant. He's my son, Kim Jae-won repeated firmly. And he's about to come into this room. I need you to understand that before he does. Come into this room? You invited him here. Yes. And his mother. Taehyun felt his world tilting. Everything he'd assumed, everything he'd built his identity around, suddenly felt unstable. Does mother know? Your mother will know soon enough. Right now, I need you to sit down and be civil. Can you do that? Taehyun sat, but his jaw was clenched so tight it ached. Young opened the door and gestured. A moment later, Sun Hee and Min-ho entered. The two brothers saw each other for the first time. They looked nothing alike. Taehyun was tall, polished, his features sharp and aristocratic. Min-ho was stockier, his face more open, his hands rougher. But their eyes were the same. Dark, intense, intelligent. Kim Jae-won's eyes. Sun Hee bowed slightly, uncomfortable. Min-ho just stared. Kim Jae-won gestured to the empty chairs. Please sit. Min-ho remained standing. Why are we here? Because I'm 62 years old, I just had a massive heart attack, and I don't have time for cowardice anymore. Kim Jae-won looked at Min-ho directly. I abandoned you. I gave your mother money and told myself that was enough. It wasn't. I was wrong. Min-ho felt anger surge through him, hot and righteous. You think admitting it makes it better? You think I care about your guilt now? No. I don't expect forgiveness. But I need you to hear what I'm about to say. Kim Jae-won pressed a button, and Young Woo-jin stepped forward with a folder. When Sun Hee told me she was pregnant, I demanded proof. I had a DNA test done after you were born. The results confirmed you were mine. Young handed copies of the test results to both Min-ho and Taehyun.
The scientific data meant little to them, but the conclusion was clear: 99.9% probability of paternity. Taehyun stared at the paper like it might bite him. You've known all this time? For 33 years, you knew I had a brother, and you never said anything. I was building an empire. I told myself I couldn't afford the distraction, the scandal. I was wrong about that too. Sun-hee spoke quietly. Why now, Jae-won? Why are you doing this now? Because I'm dying. The words silenced the room. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but my heart is damaged. The doctors give me 5 years at most, possibly less. And I need to fix this before I run out of time. Minho shook his head. I don't want your guilt money. We've survived without you for 33 years. We'll be fine. This isn't about money. It's about what's right. Kim Jae-won looked between his two sons. You're both my children. You both deserve to know the truth. Taehyun finally found his voice. What about the company? What about succession? And there it was. The question that really mattered. Kim Jae-won took a deep breath. That's the complicated part. According to my current will, everything goes to you, Taehyun. 60% of Daehan Electronics, the real estate holdings, the investment portfolio. Everything. Relief flooded Taehyun's face. However, Kim Jae-won continued, that will was written before my heart attack. Before I faced my own mortality. I'm having Young draft a new one. The relief vanished. What does that mean? It means I need time to decide what's fair. Minho is my son. He has a claim to this legacy too. Minho stepped forward. I don't want your company. I don't want any of this. Maybe not today. But you're 33. You have your whole life ahead of you. You deserve the same opportunities your brother had. Opportunities. Minho's voice rose. He went to Harvard. I'm studying for civil service exams in a PC room. He grew up in a penthouse. I grew up sharing a bedroom with my mother until I was 15. Don't talk to me about opportunities. The raw pain in his voice made even Taehyun flinch. Kim Jae-won nodded slowly. You're right. Which is why I need to make amends. Young, give them both copies of the proposal. Young distributed documents. Both young men scanned the pages, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock. This is insane, Taehyun said. You want us to work together? At the company. The proposal outlined a transition plan. Minho would be brought into Daehan Electronics immediately, starting in a management training position. He'd be given housing, a salary, and education opportunities. Over the next 2 years, both sons would prove themselves in the company. At the end of that period, Kim Jae-won would decide how to divide his estate. You're putting us in competition, Taehyun said flatly. You're making us fight for our inheritance. I'm giving you both a chance to show me what you're made of. The company needs strong leadership. I need to know who can provide it. Minho threw the document on the bed. This is sick. You abandoned me for 33 years, and now you want to dangle your empire in front of us like we're dogs fighting over a bone. I want to give you what you should have had from the beginning. A father. A future. A choice. I don't want it. Minho turned to leave. Minho, wait. Sun-hee grabbed his arm. No, Mom. This is exactly what I expected. He doesn't want to make amends. He wants to play games. Minho looked at his father with disgust. Keep your money. Keep your company. I don't need anything from you. He walked out. Sun-hee looked at Kim Jae-won, her eyes full of complicated emotions. You really have learned nothing, have you? Then she followed her son. The door closed, leaving Kim Jae-won, Taehyun, and Young in heavy silence. Taehyun stood. I need to tell Mother. Wait, Kim Jae-won said. There's more. More? What else could there possibly be? Kim Jae-won's face was grim. Minji needs to know the truth. But Taehyun, I need you to understand something. Your mother and I were never married. Under Korean law, that means my estate doesn't automatically go to you. I have complete discretion over who inherits. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. I've given you every advantage in life. Now I'm asking you to prove you deserve them. Work with Minho, or at least don't sabotage him. Show me you can lead with integrity, not just ambition. Taehyun felt his world crumbling. Does the board know about this? Not yet. But they will. Young is scheduling a meeting for next week. They'll revolt. The stock price will crash. Father, This is corporate suicide. Then help me manage it. That's what a real leader would do. Taehyun walked out without another word. If this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button now. Comment below whether you think Minho should take the deal or walk away for good. And keep watching because this drama is about to go nuclear. The news leaked within 24 hours. Someone on the hospital staff recognized Sun-hee from her second visit and sold the story to a tabloid. By morning, the headline screamed, Kim Jae-won's secret son, billionaire CEO's hidden family exposed. The story had everything: betrayal, hidden children, a fortune at stake. The media went into a frenzy. Reporters camped outside Sun-hee's apartment building. They stalked Minho to his part-time job. They hounded Minji for comment. Minji's response was to call an emergency meeting with her son and their family attorney. They met in her penthouse. The city spread below them like a kingdom under threat. This is a disaster, the attorney said. If Kim Jae-won changes his will to include this other son, we need to challenge it. We can argue undue influence, diminished capacity due to his illness. No, Taehyun interrupted. We can't challenge it. Minji stared at her son. Why not? Because father had DNA tests done 33 years ago. He's known about Minho this entire time. Any challenge we make will look like we're denying the obvious truth. It'll make us look worse. Minji's face hardened. Then we need to make sure Minho refuses the inheritance. If he publicly declines, this all goes away. He already did refuse. He walked out of the meeting. Then we make sure he stays away. We offer him a settlement. A generous one. Enough that he'd be stupid to refuse. Taehyun looked at his mother. For the first time, he saw the calculation in her eyes clearly. She wasn't angry about the betrayal. She was angry about the threat to their position. And if he doesn't take it, then we destroy him. His mother, his reputation, whatever it takes. We've worked too hard to let some convenience store clerk's son steal what's ours. At that same moment, Minho and Sun-hee were dealing with their own crisis. Reporters had found their apartment. The building owner was threatening eviction due to the media circus. Minho had been fired from his part-time job because customers were taking photos instead of shopping. They sat in their living room with the curtains drawn, listening to the shouting outside. We should leave Seoul, Sun-hee said. Go back to Busan. Start over. And prove them right? That were just embarrassments to be hidden away. What's the alternative? You said you didn't want his money. Minho was silent for a long moment. I didn't. But now I'm thinking about all those reporters out there. They're assuming I'm going to beg for scraps. They think I'm just a scandal. You're not. I know I'm not. But how do I prove it? Minho looked at his mother. What if I took his offer? Not for the money, but to show everyone that I'm just as capable as the Golden Son. Minho, that company will eat you alive. You have no training, no connections, no. I'm smart, Mom. I've been taking civil service exams. I've studied economics, business management, all of it. Maybe not at Harvard, but I'm not stupid. Sun-hee saw the determination in her son's eyes and recognized it. It was the same look she'd seen in Kim Jae-won's eyes 40 years ago. Ambition. Pride. The refusal to be dismissed. If you do this, she said slowly, there's no going back. They'll come after you. His other son, that woman, the board members. They'll try to break you. Let them try. The next morning, Minho called Young Woo-jin. I want to take the position. But I have conditions. Young sounded surprised but pleased. What conditions? First, I want everything in writing. Every promise, every opportunity. Second, I want an independent mentor, someone not connected to the family or the company politics. Third, I want my mother protected. Housing, security, whatever she needs to be safe from the media. I think we can arrange all of that. Mr. Kim will be very pleased. Tell Mr. Kim, I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this for me and my mother. He's had 33 years to be my father. That door is closed. But I won't let anyone say I'm not good enough to be his son. When the news broke that Minho had accepted a position at Daehan Electronics, the media exploded again. Stock analysts debated what it meant. Business networks ran segments on succession battles in family companies. And inside Daehan Electronics headquarters, Panic set in. The board of directors held an emergency meeting without Kim Jae-won present. Vice President Choi Sung-min stood at the head of the table. "Gentlemen, we have a crisis. Our CEO is ill, possibly dying. The succession plan we've relied on for decades is now in question. And we're about to bring an untested, unknown person into a senior management position purely because of biology." Board member after board member voiced concerns. The company had competitors circling, waiting for any sign of weakness. International partners needed stability. Shareholders demanded clarity. This wasn't just about family drama, it was about billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. "We need to take action," Choi continued. "I propose we invoke the emergency succession clause in our corporate charter. If the CEO is incapacitated and creating instability, the board has the right to appoint an interim leader." "You want to stage a coup?" one board member asked nervously. "I want to protect this company. Kim Jae-won built something incredible, but he's compromised right now. His judgment is clouded by guilt and mortality. We need clear leadership." The vote was close, but it passed. 7 board members in favor, 5 against. Choi Sung-min was appointed interim CEO, effective immediately. They would inform Kim Jae-won as a courtesy, but legally, he no longer had final authority. When young Woo-jin delivered the news to Kim Jae-won's hospital suite, the old man's face went pale, then red with fury. "They can't do this." They just did. The charter allows it if the CEO is deemed unable to fulfill duties due to health reasons. Your heart attack gave them the opening. Choi. This is Choi's doing. He's been waiting for an opportunity like this for years. Kim Jae-won tried to sit up, but the movement triggered his monitors, bringing nurses running. "Sir, you need to calm down," a nurse said firmly. "Your blood pressure is spiking." But Kim Jae-won was beyond calm. Everything he'd built, everything he'd planned, was falling apart. And the worst part was, he'd given them the ammunition. By acknowledging Min-ho publicly, by proposing to split his succession, he'd created chaos. The board had simply taken advantage. Tae-hyun heard about the board's decision while in a meeting with the marketing department. His assistant pulled him out and whispered the news. For a moment, Tae-hyun felt vindicated. The board had chosen stability over his father's emotional games. But then he realized the implications. If Choi Sung-min was interim CEO, that meant Tae-hyun's own path to the throne was now uncertain too. He went directly to Choi's office, not bothering to knock. This wasn't the plan. Choi looked up from his new desk, the CEO's desk. "Plans change. Your father created a crisis. I'm solving it. By cutting me out too? Not at all. You're still vice president. You're still valuable to this company. But we need stability, and your father can't provide it right now. And when he recovers?" Choi smiled. "If he recovers, we'll reassess. But between you and me, Tae-hyun, his heart is damaged. The doctors give him a few years at most. When the time comes for permanent succession, the board will decide. And if you've proven yourself, if you've shown you can lead without the drama, you'll have strong support." Tae-hyun heard the unspoken message clearly. Fall in line, don't rock the boat, and maybe you'll still get what you want. Cause problems and you'll lose everything. What about Min-ho? The bastard son? Choi laughed. He's a non-issue. We'll give him some meaningless position, let him play office for a few months, then quietly remove him when the media attention dies down. He's not a real threat. But Choi was wrong about that. Min-ho started at Daehan Electronics the following Monday. He was given an office on the 15th floor, far from the executive suites, but respectable enough. His official title was Special Strategic Advisor, a vague position that could mean anything or nothing. His assigned mentor was Park Ji-won, a 50-year-old woman who'd worked her way up from the factory floor to become head of operations. She was known for being tough, fair, and politically neutral. When she met Min-ho in his new office, she didn't mince words. "I know why you're here, and I know what everyone's saying about you. Most people think you're a diversity hire at best, a con artist at worst. You'll need to work 3 times as hard to get half the respect." Min-ho nodded. "I expected that." "Good. Then let's get started. You need to learn this company inside and out. Not the executive summary version your brother learned. The real version. We're starting in the factories. For the next month, Minho worked 12-hour days. Park Ji-won took him to every facility, every department. He met line workers, logistics coordinators, quality control managers. He learned how components were sourced, how products were assembled, how distribution networks operated. It was brutal, exhausting work. But Minho absorbed everything. He'd spent years studying theory for civil service exams. Now he was learning practical application, and his mind made connections others missed. In one factory, he noticed a bottleneck in the assembly process that was costing hours of productivity. He suggested a simple rearrangement of workstations. The factory manager was skeptical but tried it. Efficiency increased by 8%. Word spread. The bastard son wasn't completely useless. Meanwhile, Taehyun was dealing with his own crisis. With Choi Sung-min as interim CEO, his authority had been undermined. Executives who used to defer to him now went to Choi first. His position felt ceremonial, hollow. And everywhere he went, people whispered about his brother. Some were dismissive, but others were curious. The novelty of Minho's story, his rise from obscurity, had captured people's imagination in a way Taehyun's privileged background never had. It infuriated him. Minji watched her son's frustration grow and decided to take matters into her own hands. She arranged a private meeting with Choi Sung-min at an expensive restaurant, the kind where business deals were made in private rooms with no cameras. "I appreciate what you did with the board," she said over wine. Someone needed to restore order. "I'm just doing what's best for the company." "Of course. But I want to discuss the future. Specifically, Taehyun's future." Choi set down his glass. "I'm listening. My son has been groomed for leadership his entire life. He knows this company better than anyone except Jae-won himself. But he's being undermined by this ridiculous situation with the other son. Minho. Whatever his name is. He's a distraction. An embarrassment. We both know he'll never be a real leader here." "Probably not," Choi agreed. "But he makes for good optics. The self-made man, working his way up. The media loves that story. The media is fickle. They'll move on to the next scandal soon enough. What matters is positioning Taehyun for permanent leadership when Jae-won dies." Choi studied her. "What are you proposing?" "Support my son publicly. Make it clear the board sees him as the future. In return, when Taehyun becomes CEO, you'll have significant influence. More than you do now. And if Minho turns out to be competent, then we make sure he has reasons to leave. Personal reasons. Family reasons. Whatever it takes." Choi smiled. He liked dealing with people who understood power. "I think we can work together, Minji." They sealed the agreement with a toast, neither of them noticing the young server in the corner who'd overheard everything and happened to be the niece of Park Ji-won, Minho's mentor. By the time this story ends, you're going to want to tell everyone about it. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next, and drop a comment about whether you think Minji is a protective mother or a villain. 3 months into Minho's tenure at Daehan Electronics, Park Ji-won called him into her office. "I need to tell you something. There are people working against you. Specifically, your brother's mother is making moves with Choi Sung-min." She told him about the overheard conversation. Minho listened, his expression darkening. "What do you want to do?" Park Ji-won asked. "My job. I'll keep doing my job and let my work speak for itself." That's admirable, but naive. In corporate politics, good work isn't always enough. You need allies. I have you. You need more than me. You need people on the board, in the executive suite. People who believe in you. Minho thought about this. He'd been so focused on proving himself through competence that he'd ignored the political dimension. How do I do that? By showing them you understand what this company really needs. Not just efficiency improvements, but vision, strategy, leadership. Over the next weeks, Minho began working on something he'd been thinking about since he started. A proposal for expanding Daehan Electronics into emerging markets in Southeast Asia. He spent nights researching, running numbers, building projections. When he was done, he had a comprehensive plan that could increase company revenue by 20% over 5 years. He presented it first to Park Ji-won, who was impressed. "This is solid work. You should present it to the board." "They won't listen to me." "They will if you make them listen." Request a special presentation. You have the right as a member of the strategic advisory team. Minho did exactly that. To everyone's surprise, including Choi Sung-min's, several board members agreed to hear him out. They were curious about the bastard son's actual capabilities. The presentation was scheduled for a Friday afternoon. Minho prepared obsessively, anticipating every question, every objection. When the day arrived, he walked into the boardroom where 14 executives sat waiting, including Taehyun and Choi Sung-min. Taehyun looked at his brother with barely concealed contempt. This upstart, this nobody, was about to embarrass himself in front of the people who mattered most. But Minho didn't embarrass himself. He delivered his presentation with clarity and confidence, backing every claim with data. He acknowledged risks, but showed how they could be mitigated. He painted a vision of Daehan Electronics not just surviving but thriving in a changing global market. When he finished, there was silence. Then one board member, an older woman named Kim Soo-jin, spoke. "This is impressive work. Where did you get this market analysis?" "I compiled it myself from public sources and informational interviews with industry contacts." "In 3 months, you did this while also learning our operations?" "Yes, ma'am." Another board member chimed in. "The projections seem optimistic. What's your confidence level?" Minho fielded question after question, never flustered, always prepared. By the end of the hour, even his skeptics were reconsidering their assumptions. Choi Sung-min, however, saw the threat immediately. "It's an interesting proposal, but premature. We need to focus on stabilizing our current markets before expanding." With respect, Minho said carefully, "Waiting is a risk, too. Our competitors are already moving into these markets. If we delay, we'll be playing catch-up." "Perhaps. But this company doesn't make major strategic decisions based on proposals from advisors with 3 months of experience." The dismissal was clear. The meeting ended with polite thanks but no commitments. Minho left feeling like he'd made progress, but not enough. Taehyun cornered him in the hallway. "Impressive presentation. You actually know what you're talking about. Is that surprising?" "Honestly? Yes." Taehyun's tone wasn't entirely hostile. "Look, you and I, we're in an impossible situation. Neither of us asked for this. Your mother seems to have asked for it. I heard about her meeting with Choi." Taehyun's eyes widened slightly. "You heard about that? People talk. Just like they're probably talking about this conversation right now." Minho gestured to the executives passing by, all of them pretending not to watch. "My mother wants to protect me. Can you blame her?" "No. But I'm not the enemy here. I'm just trying to survive this mess our father created." For a moment, something like understanding passed between them. Then Taehyun's expression hardened again. Survival means someone wins and someone loses. This company has room for one heir, not two. He walked away, leaving Minho standing alone in the corridor. That evening, Kim Jae-won finally returned home from the hospital. He was weaker, diminished, but alive. Young Woo-jin briefed him on everything that had happened: the board's coup, Choi's interim leadership, Minho's presentation, the brewing conflict between his sons. "I've made a mess of this," Kim Jae-won said quietly. "You tried to do the right thing. The right thing would have been acknowledging Minho 33 years ago. Now I'm just forcing 2 innocent people to battle for scraps of my conscience. It's not too late to change course." Kim Jae-won shook his head. "Yes, it is. The board won't let me back in. Choi has the power now. All I can do is watch and hope my sons are strong enough to survive what I've started. And your will. Leave it as planned. 2 years. Let them both prove themselves. Then I'll decide." "That's a long time to wait when you're on borrowed time." "I know. But it's the only fair way." The next 6 months were a pressure cooker. Minho continued to excel in his work, slowly building a reputation as someone who understood both the ground-level operations and the strategic vision. Taehyun, meanwhile, worked to consolidate his power, cultivating board members and key executives. The tension between them became legendary in the company. They were never openly hostile, but everyone could feel the competition crackling in the air when they were in the same room. Some employees took sides. Others tried to stay neutral and ended up caught in the crossfire. Minji escalated her campaign against Minho, spreading subtle rumors about his inexperience, questioning his motives, suggesting he was only interested in money. Some of it stuck. But Minho had allies now, people who'd seen his work ethic and intelligence firsthand. The breaking point came during a major contract negotiation with a Japanese partner. Daeon Electronics had been supplying components for 15 years, but the partner was threatening to switch to a Chinese competitor unless terms improved. It was a billion-dollar relationship. Choi Sung-min assigned Taehyun to lead the negotiation. But at the last minute, the Japanese partner requested Minho be part of the team. They'd read about him in the news and were curious about the self-made son. Taehyun was furious, but had no choice. The negotiation took place in Tokyo over 3 days. The two brothers had to work together, presenting a united front while privately despising the situation. On the second day, negotiations stalled. The Japanese partner wanted a 15% price reduction. Taehyun argued it was impossible without destroying margins. The meeting was about to collapse when Minho spoke up. What if we restructured the partnership? Instead of just supplying components, we could offer joint development on next-generation products. Share R&D costs, split the profits from innovation. You get better products faster, we maintain our margins. The Japanese executives looked interested. Over the next hours, Minho and Taehyun worked together, refining the proposal. Despite themselves, they made a good team. Taehyun had the relationships and the technical knowledge. Minho had fresh perspectives and creative solutions. By the end of the third day, they'd not only saved the contract but expanded it. The Japanese partner agreed to a joint venture worth $2 billion over 5 years. On the flight back to Seoul, Taehyun and Minho sat in business class, exhausted. After a long silence, Taehyun spoke. That was good work. You too. We could have lost that deal. Your idea saved it. Minho looked at his half-brother. Are we actually complimenting each other? Don't get used to it. But Taehyun's tone was lighter. Look, I still think this whole situation is insane. I still think one of us is going to end up hurt. But I'm starting to think you're not the villain in this story. Neither are you. Then who is? They both knew the answer. Their father, who'd created this mess. The board members and executives using them as pawns. The system that demanded there be winners and losers instead of family. When they landed, Choi Sung-min greeted them with congratulations and praise. The successful negotiation was headline news. Both sons had proven themselves capable. The board was impressed. But Choi pulled Taehyun aside privately. That was excellent work. But don't forget, he's still your competition. Don't let one success make you soft. And Park Ji-won said something similar to Minho. You worked well together. But remember, at the end of this, only one of you inherits. Don't confuse temporary cooperation with permanent alliance. The message was clear from all sides. Trust was a luxury neither brother could afford. Make sure you stay until the end, because the final revelation will blow your mind. Hit that like button if you're invested in this story. As Kim Jae-won's 2-year deadline approached, the tension became unbearable. Both sons had proven themselves capable. Minho had successfully launched the Southeast Asian Expansion Pilot Program. Taehyun had secured 3 major contracts and improved operating efficiency by 12%. By any objective measure, both deserved recognition. But there could only be one heir. Kim Jae-won's health continued to decline. He'd had 2 more minor heart incidents. His doctors said each one weakened him further. Time was running out. Young Woo-jin urged him to make a decision. You can't wait any longer. The uncertainty is tearing the company apart. I know. Schedule a meeting. Both sons, you and me. 1 week from now. The announcement sent ripples through Daehan Electronics. Everyone knew what it meant. The decision was coming. After 2 years of competition, collaboration, and conflict, Kim Jae-won would finally name his heir. The night before the meeting, Minho couldn't sleep. He walked the streets of Seoul, thinking about everything that had happened. 2 years ago, he'd been studying for civil service exams, planning a modest, ordinary life. Now he was potentially inheriting one of Korea's largest companies. Did he even want it? He'd proven he could do the work. But the cost had been enormous. His relationship with his mother was strained from the stress. He had no personal life. Every day was a battle. Taehyun was also awake that night, sitting in his penthouse with his mother. Minji held his hand. Whatever happens tomorrow, you are my son. You are worthy of everything. What if he chooses Minho? Then we fight it. We challenge the will. No. Taehyun pulled his hand away. I'm tired, mother. Tired of fighting, tired of scheming. If father chooses Minho, maybe it's because Minho deserves it. Minji looked at her son like she didn't recognize him. You're giving up? I'm accepting that this might not be my destiny. I've spent 35 years believing I was meant to inherit. But maybe I was wrong. The next morning, both sons arrived at Kim Jae-won's private office. It was the first time they'd been back since the company had forced his retirement as active CEO. The room was exactly as he'd left it, photographs on the walls, awards on shelves, the weight of legacy everywhere. Kim Jae-won sat behind his desk, looking frail but determined. Young Woo-jin stood to the side with documents. Sit down, both of you, Kim Jae-won said. They sat. The silence was crushing. 2 years ago, I promised to decide between you, Kim Jae-won began. I've watched you both. Studied your work. Listened to reports from everyone in the company. You're both remarkable in different ways. Neither son spoke. Taehyun, you have the training, the connections, the strategic mind I taught you to have. You've proven you can lead. Taehyun felt hope rise in his chest. Minho, you have the creativity, the fresh perspective, the hunger that built this company in the first place. You've proven you can innovate. Minho felt his heart pound. Which is why, Kim Jae-won continued, I've decided not to choose. Both brothers stared at him. Young Woo-jin stepped forward, handing them each a document. Your father has restructured his will. Instead of one heir inheriting everything, you'll both inherit. Equally. What? Taehyun looked at the document in shock. 50-50 split, Kim Jae-won explained. You'll both own 30% of the company. I'm putting the remaining 40% into a trust controlled by the board, ensuring no single person has absolute power. But that means, Minho started. It means you'll have to work together. Co-CEOs. Joint leadership. You've proven you can collaborate when necessary. Now you'll have to do it permanently. Taehyun stood up. This is insane. Co-CEOs never work. We'll destroy each other and the company. Or you'll build something better than I ever could. 2 perspectives, 2 sets of skills, checking and balancing each other. Minho was reading the document carefully. What about voting rights? Decision-making authority. All major decisions require both your approval. You'll force each other to find consensus. And if you truly can't agree, the board trust votes to break ties. You're gambling the entire company on us getting along, Taehyun said. No. I'm gambling that you're both smart enough to realize that working together benefits you more than fighting. Kim Jae-won leaned forward. I failed you both. I gave Taehyun everything and Minho nothing. This is my attempt to balance the scales. Neither of you gets everything, but both of you get something meaningful. The brothers looked at each other. All the competition, all the conflict, and it ended not with a winner, but with a forced partnership. There's one more thing, Kim Jae-won said. The will also includes provisions for your mothers. Sun-hee receives a trust fund and property. Min-ji receives the same. I've tried to make things as equitable as possible. Minho felt something break inside him. Not anger. Something else. Maybe acceptance. When does this take effect? Upon my death. Which, given my health, could be soon. Then what happens until then? Taehyun asked. You start working together now. Officially. I've already spoken to Choi Sung-min. As of today, you're both named co-vice presidents. When I die, you become co-CEOs. Young handed them another set of documents. Employment contracts. Leadership agreements. Everything formalized. Sign them or don't, Kim Jae-won said. But understand that if either of you refuses, you forfeit your inheritance entirely. It's both of you or neither of you. It was manipulation, emotional blackmail, and vintage Kim Jae-won. Even dying, he was playing chess with people's lives. Taehyun looked at Minho. What do you think? Minho looked back. I think we don't have a choice. We always have a choice. Then what's yours? Taehyun thought about everything he'd learned over 2 years. His brother wasn't his enemy. The system that demanded there be only one winner was the enemy. Maybe shared power was actually the answer. I'll sign if you will, Taehyun said. Minho nodded slowly. Together then. They both signed. Young Woo-jin witnessed the documents. Kim Jae-won watched with something like relief on his face. Good, he said quietly. Now get out of my office and start learning to run a company together. You have work to do. The brothers left together, walking side by side down the corridor. Employees stared at them, whispering, wondering what had happened. Neither brother spoke until they reached the elevator. This is going to be a disaster, Taehyun said. Probably, Minho agreed. We'll fight constantly. Almost certainly. But maybe we'll also build something no one expects. Minho pressed the elevator button. Maybe. When they stepped into the elevator, both brothers caught their reflection in the polished walls. Two very different men, connected by blood and circumstance, now bound together by necessity and choice. The elevator descended, carrying them toward an uncertain future. But for the first time since this entire mess began, neither felt entirely alone. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and comment below what you think happens next. Will the brothers succeed together or destroy everything their father built? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.